Hi guys, so I'm here today to do my April book haul. These are all the books I received or purchased in April, and without further ado, let's have a look at them, shall we? I'm just going to pick them up as I come to them, but this first one you've probably seen on a few other booktube hauls recently. I know I have, and that is Smoke by Dan Valletta. This is an ARC copy, so the final thing will not look like this. And it's published by Orion here in the UK, who sent me this proof copy very kindly. Now, this one is being sold as the next Harry Potter meets his Dark Materials. Two very popular children's YA crossover series about magic. I'm sure you're all familiar with them, especially Harry Potter. I instantly mistrust any book that compares itself to Harry Potter because I'm going in with very high expectations in that situation. Maybe expectations will damage my reading of the book, but at the same time, so many people do it. It must sell books. And I tried not to let that affect this book, so I read the description and it did actually sound very fascinating, so I definitely wanted to check it out. And it's set in a world where sin is visible, and I believe it's set in a boys' boarding school. Definitely one I'm very curious to see how I and others feel about. Continuing on with the magical theme, I then have a book that was sent to me by Gallic Books, and that is The Life of Elves by Muriel Barbary. Gallic Books publish books originally written in French in English. This was translated by Alison Anderson. Let's just take a moment to absorb how beautiful this book is. It even has nice little French flaps. And I believe it's about foundling children or elf children who are being raised in the ordinary everyday world, and what else we will have to see, but I'm really excited for this one. And next, a book you will not be surprised to see on my channel. It was in my most anticipated releases of the year video, and I have been waiting for it to come in the post since I first requested it from the publishers, which was a little while ago. I was very preemptive with this one, and that is Kate Tempest's The Bricks That Built the House. Kate Tempest is most well known as a performance poet, and I have read both her collections of poetry. I think she's fabulous. I love her poetry. She has written some other stuff, but this is her first novel, so I'm really excited to see how her writing style translates into prose. And this book follows a group of young people fleeing London from violence, and I believe it kind of works backwards time-wise to tell you why they're running and kind of what events led up to them having to run away. A little bit of non-fiction next though. I have this book which I requested from Thames and Hudson, and that is Greek Mythology, A Traveller's Guide from Mount Olympus to Troy. And this book takes us to real and mythological places in Greece and tells us about the ancient myths that surround them. So places like Argos and Athens and Sparta, and I say mythological places because there's also locations like Hades listed on the back, which is the ancient Greek underworld. It also is full of lovely illustrations to accompany the book all the way through, so I'm hoping this is a really fun dip in and out of general consumption Greek mythology book for us all to try. Quickly, I did buy myself another non-fiction book though, and this one's pretty self-explanatory in the title, which is How to Get a PhD, a Handbook for Students and Their Supervisors by Estelle M. Phillips and Derek S. Pugh. I actually bought this second hand, not that it looks it, which is fantastic. It looks like in brand new condition, which is great. I've really just been wanting to read some books on studying for your PhD and getting your PhD, mainly to kind of be a little bit more comforted, as it can be kind of lonely starting your PhD and it's a lot to take on. It's a massive change, and it's very much self-motivated, so I thought picking up some books on the topic would just kind of make me feel a little bit more comfortable and sure of myself, and give me just a little bit of guidance, even if I don't follow everything in the book or it doesn't apply to me. I'm sure there'll be some useful stuff in this, and this was just one of the ones that I managed to pick up second hand. And since we're on the topic, I'll show you the last non-fiction book I have, and that is The New Odyssey by Patrick Kingsley, the story of Europe's refugee crisis. The journalist that wrote this book follows the journey and lives of a select few individuals who are refugees from different situations and backgrounds, so it should be really interesting, and again just a really important book. You've heard me talk about and share with you books on refugees before, so I'm really glad to see another one on the market. And this is published by Faber and Faber in collaboration with the Guardian newspaper. The next book I'm really excited for, I've heard amazing things about, and that is Jane Steele by Lindsay Fay. This is set in the 1800s and is about a young woman who has become a bit of an assassin and is going around killing misogynistic and abusive men in the 1800s, and her sort of role model and inspiration as a woman is Jane Eyre. She loved the book and she finds a lot of solace in that book. Parts of the story also somewhat mirror Jane Eyre in themselves, as I believe she becomes a governess in the household of a single man. Bit of an overlapping plot there. I'm really excited for this one. I heard Joss over at Scribble Reads talk about this and she did a whole review. She loved it, she raved about it, she made me super duper excited to read it, so I will link her review down below and highly recommend you go and check that out, because I'm sure you'll get the bug just like I did. But we're almost done, and the next 3 books I have to show you are Warlock Holmes, A Study in Brimstone by G.S. Denning. This was sent to me by Titan Books. Titan actually publish a lot of different types of new Sherlock Holmes stories, and I've tried a few of them in the past before and really enjoyed them. This one though, however, is quite different because in it Sherlock Holmes is a warlock. It sounds like a bit more of a silly fun take on the Sherlock Holmes mysteries, and I'm all for that. As much as I love the originals, I also enjoy things like this, so I am intrigued to see if this one meets my expectations. I then have The Arrival of Missives by Elia Whiteley, which is published by Unsung Stories. You might have heard me mention Elia Whiteley before. I read her book The Beauty, which was a sort of post-apocalyptic dystopian novel that freaked the hell out of me. It was so beautifully written, it was a really well executed book, but it also really freaked me out and kind of made my stomach turn. It was a really strange reading experience because it was fascinating yet disturbing the whole way through. I also own a collection of Elia Whiteley's short stories, which is Witchcraft in the Harem, which I have read about half of, and they had a very similar feel for me. They're kind of fantastical, beautifully written horror stories, and although this one doesn't give me too many clues from the description on the back, I'm going to assume that there's always going to be something a little bit unnerving about Elia Whiteley's writing, at least from my experience. But it's actually set in the aftermath of the First World War, I believe, in a small village which is preparing for the May Day festival. And last but certainly not least is a collection of short stories by Kelly Link, and that is Get in Trouble. This is published by Canongate. I have just heard really good things about Kelly Link's writing, so I wanted to give it a shot. I don't know much else about this collection, but I believe they're kind of fantastical, magic realism / fantasy stories. At least to some extent they have those kind of elements in there. I'm not sure to what extent yet, but there's definitely some magic in there. I believe they're also quite dark, so I am excited to try this. So those are all the new books I acquired in the month of April. Do let me know if you've read any of these books or want to read any of these books, and if there's anything you think I should check out based on the books I picked up in this video, then do let me know. Until next time though, happy reading, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye!